I really don't understand why people get so judged when they sleep around. Like, a person sleeps around not just because they are sexually unsatisfied, but maybe a lot of times there's childhood trauma, there's wounds in the family dynamics, even there are wounds in the marriage. Maybe the person is in a dysfunctional marriage, which is provoking the person to go ahead and sleep around. Maybe that person is in a relationship with someone who cheats on them too, or gapes at everything that looks and that triggers that person's historic personality to just sleep around out of emitting out the excess of wrath that they are carrying as an outburst of jealousy. Hello and welcome to Quantum Dynamic Age Creating Life and Living. In this video, we are unraveling something very controversial. And we are going to talk about something which is really tabooed, which is really looked down upon, like, oh, she slept with so many people. So recently I was hearing of some video going viral where Gen Z has talked about sleeping around with 100 people in one day and how she was feeling devastated, and she has chosen to sleep around with another 1,000 people in 2025. So, talking about her personality type, she is young and she's a Gen Z, so she should be like around her 19, 20, or 25 maximum. So at this point, when she is doing something like that, it has to be because she might have been treated brutally in school. People who get bullied can have these kind of repercussions. Even the impact can come off as dressing differently, just chopping off your hair, or just getting a lot of tattoos done. All of those can be repercussion of excess of childhood trauma followed by emotional abuse or verbal abuse or physical abuse at home by parents or by a relative, or attempt of molestation by a relative, or literally being molested by a relative or someone close, or having like really toxic, sexually toxic relationships. There can be a lot of reasons behind a lot of things. There can be financial constraints also. A lot of people walk into the path of prostitution or even having only fans because it's a fast way of earning money, and by the virtue of it, they can get the money that they need for whatever reasons they need it. It can be for a family member also, it can be to help their own family, it can be for any other emergency reasons. So without really knowing where a person is coming from, judging that person is like creating a wall for that person where we're telling that, hey, we have no place for you in this world. Like, you're not welcome. Like, you're not a part of this world. Like, of course they are a part of this world. And guys, all of you who have been judged, especially for this, like, you're so welcome in this zone, in this channel. Like, I see you, I know where you're coming from. Like, I have been there, done that, and I totally understand where a person might be coming from to take certain decisions in life, and there is no judgment from my end, at least for y'all. And nobody should judge people like us, bro. Like, there's no point judging. Like, the point is to see where a person is coming from. Like, no matter what action a person takes, whether the person is lying, whether the person is cheating on someone, whether the person is stealing, whether the person is bullying, behind everything there's reason. There was a girl who used to bully me like brutally. Like, I had no idea, like, what's her problem with me? Like, why did she choose to bully me so bad. Like I used to walk and she would just throw my bag away, push me on the stairs. Like later I got to know that she lost her mother at a really young age and she is reared up alone by her father with a brother, and he was into drug abuse and stuff, and she was really alone, and she was going through a lot of pain, and somewhere she could take that pain out on me because I was kind of timid, wouldn't say much, was kind of shaken and scared. So I was like an easy target for her to take out that rage. And later when I realized it, where she was coming from, I could realize like, okay, it wasn't like personal, yeah, my personality type and my timidness made me an attraction for the bullies, but I get it where she was coming from. So it's necessary to actually understand where another person is coming from. A lot of problems end when we start to see that where is this person coming from? Like, why is this person doing this? Like, what's behind this action? Like, what's going on beneath? Once we start to analyze that about almost everything, we literally be like, so what? Like, so what the person did that? Like, big deal. They did it, they did it. Now they can't go back and change it. You can't undo sleeping around, right? So what's the point of crying over spilled milk? Like, oh my god, the milk is weird. You can't like put it back in the bottle, right? It's done. So what the person did it. Acknowledge your so-called mistakes and realize that no matter what you have done, no matter what steps you have taken, there's a reason beneath it. Like people get into drugs, people get into alcohol abuse, people get into my own narcissistic father. He is like abnormally addicted to alcohol. Like he drinks every day. Like I don't even know how many bottles he buys in a week. So he's like, every time you get into that house, you like smell whiskey everywhere. Well, so I don't like whiskey personally because I just can't tolerate the smell of whiskey and scotch, particularly because he was like addicted to it. So he's been physically abusive, he's been verbally abusive, he's emotionally, psychologically out of the world abusive. But he was coming from a family where his mother was exactly that way, physically abusive, verbally abusive, psychologically abusive. Sisters were exactly that way. They used to beat up his father. It was like a chaotic environment. People used to like throw utensils for nothing, shout for nothing, create chaos for nothing, call each other like vulgar hooligan like names and just talk in terms of vulgar abuse. Like it's like the most chaotic environment you can be born into. And but the point is, I realized that why my father is so abusive. I don't like him. I don't stay with him. He kicked me out of the house. But at the end of the day, I have the answer of why does a person shout 24 into 7 and constantly has to like yell and have like just be in a state as if he's just bursting out in anger. His nose are visible as he's shouting so much. Why does he have to be like that? Even when he's opening the door for the med, he's using like horrible words, like literally like I cannot even utter like beep beep words here. And I was like, dude, like, why does this person do that? And he has to shout and make this environment chaotic. It's been always that way. And at this point, it makes sense that he's doing that because he's been read that way. He's seen those things and he feels that taking anger that way and making the situation chaotic for others, making the environment really like full of gloom and doom makes him feel powerful, like he has been able to accomplish something, makes him feel like he has got some sense of strength. And this is with people also who are sleeping around. When a person who, for example, is getting, say, cheated by the husband, say, example, is looking around every woman and is flirting with everyone, is just meeting every one woman and being like, oh, you're so beautiful, and completely ignoring the wife. And if this wife cheats on this husband, it's going to be because she is jealous, she's frustrated, and she's taking out the anger of years of trauma that she has been put through by this man. And when she is having sex with people, of course, she's going to feel powerful. Of course, she's going to feel like she's being the person who's having power, who's having strength. She's being the person who is being given the importance here, and she is getting power and strength over those women who her husband used to look at, her husband used to gape at. And by the virtue of this action, she's feeling strong. And it's also a way of culminating down the excess of jealousy. So it's very important to see where a person is coming from, whatever the person is doing. And when we start to observe that, we are like, damn, now it makes sense. And we start to literally shift the way we are even seeing the situation. So, let me give you more examples. So, given the example of this girl, there have been people who have talked about that this girl was. So, yeah, there have been people who have talked about that the girl had some childhood trauma or wound which made her took those decision of sleeping around with like 100 people in one day. So if a person is having childhood trauma or wound, have been made to feel horrible, have been maybe slut shamed, called down upon, have been told a lot of nonsensical things, a person feels like doing this, taking out my anger, sleeping around with one person after the other is giving me strength, giving me power, and I'm finally feeling like I have got some strength, I've got some resolution after whatever I have been through. And now I feel at ease. And then it shifts to now I feel horrible. What have I done? And why did I do this? But it feels good, but I'm going to do it again. And why shouldn't I? Nobody is even understanding where I'm coming from. So I just continue to do this because I'm not seen and understood anyway, and I just want to demolish. And then it again shifts to, but I am so lost, I'm so shattered, I've just done so much of inflicting wound harming actions to myself, so I can't just do anything. And there's this bipolar shift that constantly happens. And that's what is I am presuming is happening to her. And it happens when a person has gone through a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and there's different ways the trauma and wounds come up. Like when a person is doing something, if a person is completely like fine, I mean, not a sociopath, not a psychopath, rather an empath, but the person does something or takes some action which is on the spectrum of sociopathy and psychopathy. And that actually is a repercussion of excess of pain stored. So when a person is getting a lot of pain stored and is having a lot of wounds, from that wound, the person does something and does something gruesome. And the person is shaken by it, but also at the same time, a personality, a side of the person feels satisfied by it. And the satisfaction is coming from all the pain of years of trauma the person is going through. And the pain and the shaking is because how could I do something like this? This is so not me. This is so against my conscience. I'm ashamed. But also, there is a joy that I had to do this. This had to come out. I have been through so much. I deserve justice. There are simultaneous aspects of the personality playing out for a person, especially when a person has gone through a lot of trauma and pain. So, if you've been through a lot of trauma and pain and you consciously choose to stay like kind to people, you consciously take care of your emotions, have been working on your emotions, kudos to you. Like, it takes like humongous amount of energy to do that because hurt people, and you are being an exception to not hurt people. There are people who try to belittle others down, pull others down. I think they are doing horrible things than a person who's sleeping around. I mean, people pull each other down, people do not want others to be successful, people make others feel incapable because they're not taking actions, or they might not have talent, and they might just be like bitter people always complaining and blaming others and feeling like they're the most superior person on earth, and they're like the gods sent angels, and then they judge people, and then they make people feel messed up, then they really like always are making another person feel like they are to be blamed and never take accountability, and then they drip others down, make them feel like they shouldn't be doing what they're doing, they should rather be focusing on something else. These people are jealous, these people are just hurt people who are hurting others, and they are doing an gruesome act to take out their pain and not choosing to heal, and that is also actually from a place of their hurting. They've not been able to utilize their time to do what they wanted to do, and now they're like, oh, these people have utilized their time to do what they want to do, I'm going to waste their time instead of focusing on building what I can build, because it's easier to break what's already built than to build anything from the scratch. That's kind of a mindset these people are coming from, again feeling entitled that they can just do anything, demolish anything. And an example like my father's example I gave you, and someone like that is actually in a state of I'm going to demolish everything, but as a person who is instead taking or is seen to only torture themselves or like sleep around or sleep with multiple people, it is important to realize that these people need a space holding. These people need to normalize this talk, and we need to come up ahead and normalize these kind of conversations so that such people feel seen and understood and really find other ways to take out their pain other than torturing their bodies. That's just one of the ways of torturing your body, because there are people who take actions which are life taking in nature in the pursuit of hurting themselves by trying to take out the pain because they don't want to take out the pain on another person. A lot of people do not want to reach out to a therapist, in fact, because they feel that they do not want to put their pain and make another person feel burdensome with their issues when they have had a lot of childhood trauma stored in them. So, if that sounds anything like you, and you have been through this situation and you felt judged, my heart goes out to you. This is a platform where you're not judged, like you're totally seen. I totally get you where you're coming from. Like, it's okay to feel proud of about your body count. There's no harm in it. Because somewhere deep down, feeling pride in your body count is soothing the wrath of whatever you've been through, and you're feeling like at least I have accomplished this. And that rage, that infuriated wrath that you're carrying is from years of pain that you have been through, is from years of feeling like you're not good enough. So every time you've been made to feel not good enough, every time maybe you've seen issues at home, everything together culminated down to something like that. So it's not your fault, it's not you, it's your wound, it's your anger, it's your rage, and life does not end here, life moves on. Few years down the line, you look back and you're like laughing, like, oh my god, that's something I did. Like, I was crazy, but I was like thinking, like, oh, I'm cool. That's not like crazy as in you're insane crazy, but then, crazy in a cool way. Like, I was like, oh my god, like, oh, I was such a badass to do that way. And having to realize that, like, okay, done. Now I'm gonna not gonna, judge another kid who's doing that, but I'm going to rather realize where that kid is coming from, and I'm going to be like, sis, been there, done that. Don't judge yourself. Like, it's okay. Did you go through a lot of pain in childhood? Were mom that bad? Were like girls in school mean? Your exes were horrible? You can ask those questions, and that person is going to feel seen and heard. So the society needs people like you. So what if God made you like this so that you can be there for people and be your support from your personal experience? What is right about it that you do not see? So, do not judge yourself for what has happened. And yeah, so what? She's left around, bro. So what? No big deal. And it's just a taboo that, to sleep around or to do something like that, you look down upon, your character is looked down upon, your character shamed, and you're like made to feel like you don't matter, but you matter and you are more important than you think. And whatever you did, you had to do it to be an example to the society that, hello, are you guys like all perfect and sinless that you're judging me? To come from that vibe requires lack of self judgment. So, to hell with people who are judging you, they just do not know how to see things deeply. But you know where you're coming from. Stop judging yourself. You deserve all the respect in this world. I love you. I see you.